I wish I could say that I'm going to tell you a story tonight and make you real happy so you go home and you sleep good, but I'll warn you ahead of time, I'm not going to do that. It's not because I want to do that, it's because it's a reality of where we are. As I said in the letter that I wrote to the governor, there is never a right time or a right way to do the wrong thing. And way too often we find our legislative and political leaders trying to find some way to put the lipstick on the pig and make it do something it's not supposed to do or look like something it's not supposed to do. And that's contact tracing. Actually, it was originally called contact tracking, but they did a poll, and people didn't like the idea of being tracked. So they did another poll, find out what they did like, and it turns out they were okay with contact tracing. So it's now called contact tracing. Is it any different? Absolutely not. Is there anything wrong with it? Not when done right and used in its right application. We've been doing it. In the early 1900s, it was contact tracking that helped us identify and track down and find typhoid America. Now, typhoid is a bacteria, the COVID is a virus. That has nothing to do with the process. This is the process by which you identify people to stop the spread of contagious diseases. Ebola is contagious, typhoid is contagious, HIV is contagious, COVID is contagious, but in different degrees. And contact tracking or tracing works for things like Ebola, TB, HIV, which why they are very deadly, and we really want to use that tool because they are very deadly. They are not very contagious. Yes, they are contagious, but not to the degree that things like the Wuhan virus, or the COVID, or the Chinese, whatever you want to call it. It is highly contagious, but unlike Ebola, it's not very deadly. Now let's back up a little bit, though, and talk about how we got to where we are. Because if you remember when this all started, we were led to believe that the virus was very deadly, probably a death rate of about 7% or greater. That it was highly contagious, and it was going to affect everybody equally. It had no discrimination of age, sex, race. Everybody was going to be exposed to it. And we could expect, if we didn't find some way to treat it or cure it, then we'd have 240,000 Texans dead by August, which means we would have about 100,000 dead by now. And that's how we started, with a big, big scare. If you want to think about the reason behind that, let me tell you another little story. The story that how Khrushchev, when he was going into power, was out on a farm in Russia, explaining to people how communism was going to work and why the people would follow along in it. He was on a farm, several people there, the animals running around, and he stopped and reached down and he picked up a chicken, held that chicken underneath his arm, and he kept talking. And as he's talking, he starts pulling feathers out of the chicken. Pull one or two out, and then 3 or 4, and then a handful, and he started ripping the feathers out of the chicken, and the chicken's screaming and hollering, and it's starting to bleed. But he keeps pulling the feathers out. He keeps talking about the benefits of socialism, how it will provide for people, homes for people, a guaranteed income, guaranteed education, etc. And he's pulling away all his feathers, and finally gets all the feathers out of the chicken, or most of them anyhow, and that chicken's just screaming and hollering and bleeding, and he sets it on the ground, and he walks over to a feed bag, where he picks up a handful of food, then he walks back to the chicken, drops a little food in front of it, chicken eats it, And he walks a few steps and drops a little more food, a few steps and drops a little more food. Next thing you know, the chicken follows him all the way across the barnyard as he keeps talking about the benefits of communism. Folks, that's the way it happens with us. They treat us really bad, and then when they offer a little something like opening the businesses up 25%, it's a little bit of fee, we feel real happy, like they've really done something for us. But in reality, they have crushed our liberty, crushed what our founding fathers intended for us here. Folks, pandemics are nothing new. We have had them since the country was founded. They have been around every few years. We have gone through things far worse than this. Matter of fact, in the same time frame of what we lost 1,600 people last month, we'd had about 7,500 of the flu die. So it's not quite what it seems, but let's talk about where we are, because that part of it we could talk all night. We are where we are. But let's talk about contact tracing and what they have envisioned for it. And what I'm going to tell you, I didn't get off of Facebook, and I didn't get out from reading articles written by people. I got my information directly from our Health and Human Services people by talking to them directly more than once. And so what I described to you is what they have described to me, and it is not necessarily consistent with what our governor has said, who has vehemently said that it will be all voluntary. He has said that a number of times, it will be all voluntary. But then again, we got to remember that there was something said about masks, of people not being required to wear them. And they've kind of found a way around that, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So, the way it was described to me is, and it's going to be set up with a lot of people and a whole lot of money going into it. And that is a problem in itself. Because as I started out, there's never a right time or a right way to do the wrong thing. Contact tracing or tracking, it is wrong technically because it does not, will not, cannot work with a virus like what the COVID is. It is wrong financially because we are in the deepest kind of trouble the state has ever been in from a financial standpoint. The oil prices are down. Sales tax is down. New car sales. I spoke to the folks at the railroad a couple of weeks ago, and they said their new car shipments are down 70%. New car sales tax and vehicle registrations are a significant part of the state's budget. Even the lottery is down. Folks, it is all down. So spending a dime, and people argue that, and here's the argument probably, it's federal money. It's not state money. We're spending federal. You know what the difference between state money and federal money is? They take the federal money out of your left pocket, and we take the state money out of your right pocket. And the cities and counties just whatever left over. So, but it's wrong financially to spend, we'll spend at least, the initial contract is $300 million. The scope of what they're talking about is probably 3 times that size. And it's morally wrong because of the invasion of privacy and the trampling of liberty and individual rights of the people. So it is wrong on all counts. But let me bring you through the scenario of description of how they expect this to work. When you go give a test, and therein lies a big problem in itself, in that the CDC has gone back and forth on the issue of asymptomatic and symptomatic. For those of you who may not follow that, this virus, people can have it and never know it. Never know it. They can have it, maybe have a little nausea, some symptoms, but they think it's something else, and they get right through it, they just never know it. The article I read today estimated that it's probably about 10 to 1 that people asymptomatic, having it, and spreading it. And remember, the CDC's been on both sides of it. This is one of the problems we have. They've been on both sides of can it do this, can't do this, and so on. the latest is, this came out of a huge study that was done, including a lot of Europe and a lot of data. This was thousands and thousands of cases that asymptomatic people can spread the virus. So, tracking can only track the people who have been tested and we know they have it. So right out of the gate, we're focusing on most likely 1/10 of the number of people that could spread it. But the way it will work is you get tested, and then the lab now contacts the state, gives them your name, phone number, and address. And right now that's not working real well because that time period from the time you take the test till the state gets it is about 2 weeks. So we're spending a lot of money for that. That's a whole other story. But anyway, it works. And so then they will contact you. And I've said, so where is this voluntary? Oh, when we call, they don't have to talk to us. They don't have to answer the questions. Okay, that's fine. It was even said they can hang up, and that's the end of it. Well, there's another state that has been doing it voluntary, and it was voluntary, and they found that they were only getting about 30% of the people to volunteer. So that changed. I'm just saying, it starts out voluntary, that's what they've said it's going to be, but our evidence of what's happening, I believe it was Kansas, was another state where it all of a sudden became non-voluntary. And I said, okay, so that's voluntary, they can hang up. But what about the person, when they answer the questions, or, because the question is, okay, where have you been and what have you done for the last week, 2 weeks? How many of you here could right now sit down and tell somebody where you've been or who you've been with or whatever? No. I said, how's that going to work? Because maybe I was at Chili's for lunch on Monday, and I was shopping at Macy's, and then I was over at Town East on Thursday, I think it was Thursday, whatever. I remember I was in a couple of stores. Oh. Now, I've gotten this story on both sides, so which way it's going to be, I can't say for sure, but the answer I got the first time was, oh, the businesses will keep a log of who's in the store on what day. The restaurants will keep a log on who sat at what table with who on what day. And I can tell you, I have had people call me already that have tried to go to a restaurant and got met at the door wanting to have an ID before they let them in to sit there. It's happened in Dallas and it's happened in Austin. And so I've actually had people, so what is happening out there is a little bit different from what was said would be happening or could be happening when I was told later that, oh no, we won't have the laws. So there is no way to make this work if they don't have it. So it doesn't make sense. But then the next step was, okay, so you find out that Fred had seen Betty, Judy, Bill, George, whatever, and you get their number and call them. So how does Fred, Billy, and George, how did they volunteer to get into this thing? It was dead silence. Well, they don't have to answer either. So that's kind of how that part of it went out. So they're saying it's voluntary. There is no way for it to meaningfully work if it stays voluntary. Then we moved on to, okay, what are you really looking for other than who they're in contact with? So, oh, well, we'll need to know, but the very important thing is the living conditions of the person. Well, we're going to say, oh, but we're not going to ask them any personal questions about finances or something like that. But we're going to, like, is it a family of 5 living in a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom? It's going to be hard for a person to quarantine or isolate in those circumstances, particularly if the house has an elderly person in it or a young person. And so I said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, we're going to have some government facilities that the people can move into, or maybe the child, or the elderly person. And I said, and that's voluntary? The answer I got was, we hope it will be voluntary. And I said, that's when I said my boat goes from like that. So I said, where in the world do you think you're going to get the authority to do this? Hang on to the censure. Oh, we already have it. We already have it. I said, really? He says, oh yeah. It is part of the health code that gives the authority to the county health officer to quarantine people with a contagious disease. Now, it has a purpose, and I can't say it's bad, because when you do have a person that has a contagion, because we've had people with contagious diseases who decided they want to go out and use that to infect other people. And so that's what it was put in place for. It's one of those things, when it's used right, it has a right place and it's a right time to do it. The unfortunate thing is, we have seen what our mayors, some of them, and our judges will do when given just a little bit of authority with something to turn it into something you never intended for it to be. And so we find ourselves.
Eric Johnson.
That's in a situation where we take something that was intended for good that could really be used for bad. And so that's where it starts to get a little dicey in what we're going to do with this, particularly since we have no idea where the end of it is going to be. And so unfortunately, where we find ourselves here today is that, as we talked about in the beginning, where we're told 7% death rate, 240,000 Texans dead by August of this year, highly contagious and affects everyone. The reality of it is none of that is true. None of it is true. The death rate, the last I saw from the CDC, and as more data is collected, the number has got to keep going down. But it's gone from 7% down now to 0.26. 0.26. Your chances of getting the COVID in Texas is 99.8% probability you won't even get it. And if you get it, you've got a 98% chance of survival. And it is not an equal opportunity infector. It's a target for people with a challenged, a low immune system. Particularly the elderly. I hate using that word elderly. We're talking 60 and above. I guess that makes some of us super elderly. But 60 and above with a compromised immune system, 60 and above with a compromised, that is diabetes, obesity, hypertension, chemo treatments and things like that where your immune system is down, 80% of our deaths. That's where it is. 20 and under is less than 1%. School-age kids, 15 and under. Last article I read on it, did any calculation, said 15 and under is 4 times more likely to be struck by lightning than to die of COVID. So what we need to be doing is focusing on those that are vulnerable for it. You see, you mentioned that I was in the military. One of the things you learn in the military, in combat, I did not go into combat, but I got trained for it. But one thing you learn is you have a battle plan. The battle plan was put together by staff way before the battle started on their estimates of what to expect when you get into battle. Now, John knows that because he is a hardened veteran of lots of combat, and there are some others in here. And he knows, and those who have done this know, that when the first shot is fired, the battle commander's primary job is to adjust their plan, his plan, to meet the enemy's tactics, strength, and firepower. If he doesn't, and he tries to follow a plan that doesn't match it, he's going to get his rear end kicked. He's going to lose. And that's what we haven't done. we are still today acting as though this was something that was going to have a 7% death rate, and everybody's going to get it. And so until we recognize and adjust to it, we're going to go through what we're talking about going through. Where today, we understand we have now rolled back on our medical facilities in 4 counties. Dallas is one of them. And that was a major problem the first time around. And I had a real hard time with our Texas Medical Board when they did a triage from Austin. And they decided to put the citizens of Texas into 2 classes of people. The first class for medical services. First class, anyone who had the COVID or they thought had the COVID. The second class was everybody else without regard to your health conditions. It was everybody else, 2 classes. And then they reserved 99.99% of our medical facilities for the first class citizens with the COVID, to the total exclusion of all the rest of Texas. And as a result, we had many a person who could not get, because they called it elective surgery, and I just don't ever think that breast cancer surgery is elective. Prostate cancer surgery is not elective. Cancer surgery of any time is not elective. Knee surgery, for a person that has a bad knee, is hardly elective. You can go down the list. I said lunch 2 days ago with a friend that turned out that had been going through chemo, had 1 treatment to go, and they turned him away. And he had to go back and start all over again. A tumor on the kidney. Had a woman that was needed knee surgery. Got turned away. She committed suicide. We have done, and it's the question I've asked every time we've had the phone calls we have weekly that are just for the legislature. Who is trying? When they kept talking about we're flattening the curve, we got to flatten the curve, flatten the curve. I said, who's watching the other curve? It's the first time I asked her, what do you mean the other curve? I said, I'm talking about the collateral damage to the people of Texas as a result of what we're doing to them with this. Who is looking at the damage to them? And it was crickets. Nobody was paying attention to that. The collateral damage has been great. I live in a neighborhood that has a lot of airline pilots. A couple of weeks ago I was told that since this went into effect, we've had 6 Southwest pilots commit suicide over the financial problems they ran into. One week on our phone call, one of the reps from down in the Woodlands area mentioned on the call, get their attention, he said, you know, last weekend I had 4 people in the district die of the COVID. People with HHS, oh, that's terrible, sorry, yeah. He says, no, we had 7 people commit suicide. Folks, our domestic violence has been up, child abuse has been up. We have a lot that's going on as a result of that. And hopefully we will not roll this back. We will go forward with opening back up, educating people to be smart, informed. As I said, this is America, built on fundamental rights of the individual for liberty. And people should be allowed to make their own choice to the level of risk that they're willing to take. There are people here tonight who recognize it was a risk to come here because you had to get on the highway, maybe on the interstate. Some of you didn't take the interstate because you don't like the interstate, it's too scary. That's your choice, that's your risk.
That's right.
There are some of you who won't go off the boat because you think people drown if they go off the boats. That's fine. That's your choice. What we need to be doing is informing people of the facts. And as I said earlier, the facts are that this is a selective virus. It's focused, and people can do something about it and reduce their level of risk to whatever is comfortable for them to do. Not tell everybody, blanket, don't come out of your house. house, which was bad to begin with, because what we should, if anything, say that stay home, but get in your backyard and stand in the sunshine, because it kills the COVID. Don't stay in the house. I mean, the number of cases that we have of what they call familial, that is family members, because they isolated together, is huge. And the other side of it is over 50% of our deaths in Texas have been in our nursing homes. And it's over that because the numbers say 50%, close to it. But in counting, if a person is taken out of the nursing home and goes to the hospital and dies, it doesn't even count in it. We've got communities that all their deaths were in a nursing home, but they had the businesses shut down. And I guarantee you with this thing that's coming up with the mask now, that the mayor in some cities out there will shut them down anyhow. So let me just cover one other thing, and then I'll open it up to some questions. And that is, how did we get to where we are today? I mean, it is a question that bothers me a great deal. And the answer, I think, is it didn't happen overnight. And when I say that, I'm kind of shifting gears on you. I'm getting back to where we are as a result of what we have seen that has come along as a part of this virus that's come after it, or what we've seen happening in the streets and around. It didn't happen overnight. We can go all the way back to my story about the chicken and slowly pulling the feathers out. This started 100 years ago when people decided that the government needed to have more money. And so we instituted an income tax, because the power that the government exercises over us today is a result of the amount of money that they have. They've got the power with the money. And then quickly behind that, they stripped away some of the powers of the people when they had senators being elected by the population rather than by the states, which again unbalanced the distribution of power. That was the wisest thing our founding fathers did, was distribute that power. Unlike what we got right now, where all the power is in one person, but they had it distributed. And then over the years, we had other little things happen, like with Nixon, we removed off the gold standard, which then allowed the government to print all the money it wanted. And then we roll over and we take God out of our schools. Yes. And God's going out of our heart. And what did we do? Crickets. We sat there and let it happen. The water got hotter, it kept going hotter, kept getting hotter. And as we took God out of our schools and we started, the communists recognized, like what Hitler had said, give me a child when they're 7 and they'll be mine forever. Yes. Where did these people that have been out there with these riots, where did they learn what is in their heads that lead them to believe the things that they are now believing?
You're right. Yeah.
Folks, we have lost it with the generations coming up. And it happened because we let it happen. We sat at home watching television, playing golf, playing tennis, reading a book to entertain ourselves, rather than paying attention to what's happening. It didn't happen fast. It was just a little chip at a time, a little chip at a time. We saw it stick its ugly head up several years ago with the program that was in our schools, and I'm just Common Core, and then the Touches program. Folks, I still have at home one of the lessons that was secretly got out of the school on economics. It's a stair step, and it shows a person running up these stair steps of economic principles. At the bottom of the stair step is called free enterprise. At the top is communism. That was one of the lessons in class. And so we have a choice. We can continue to sit at home, not be active, and see what order is going to come out of Washington or Austin next. or we can decide to get involved, do something. Because it is a government of the people and by the people. And believe me, I will tell you that when the people get upset enough, it changes things. It does. We have a Tea Party. They got a good running start, and it actually changed some things here in Texas. And then it died out because people got complacent again, real quick. And the way where we're going right now, it's going to take a lot of noise. I mean, I told you, the legislators, we can't do a thing. We're not in session. We don't go into session until January. And anything we do doesn't take effect until the following year. But you can make a difference. This past year, we had almost every county in Texas pass a resolution making their county a Second Amendment sanctuary. We've had several cities that made their cities an abortion-free sanctuary in the cities. Because the people got together, they got their city council, they got their county commissioners to pass those resolutions. Local government has a lot of power, and they will listen to the people. You're the closest to them. One way around out of this is right the same route. We've already had 2 and I think maybe 3 counties now that have passed resolutions saying that they will not participate and support contact tracing. If you're going to do it state, you go do it yourself. We're not going to support it. The county support is key for it to happen. If enough of that happens, then it will not, we can stop it from happening there. But to get back and talk about where are we really going with this, as we look at how we've come from real liberty up over the years as it's gone away, and to where we are today, where we have statues of Grant being torn down, where we have statues of a foreigner who was a tremendous abolitionist and gave up his life, beheaded and drugged through the streets. And how did we get from just a few weeks ago having a businesswoman here in Texas being arrested and put in jail for simply trying to feed her family, doing something that was absolutely legal up to that point, but come down on her like a ton of bricks, to what we have seen lately, where people are out destroying private property, destroying public property, beating up, maiming people, killing people in the streets, and not a word being said about it, not a word being in the media, or the leaders doing a thing about it, and at the end, actually kneeling and asking for their forgiveness. How did we get here? Folks, I'll tell you, the only way first I'll ever kneel to is my Lord Jesus Christ. How did we get here? Think about it. Just a few weeks ago, this is a woman arrested for trying to earn a living. 2 people being killed. Property being destroyed. Not one person arrested. Not one person charged. Folks, this is, I bring this up because where we are, while contact tracing is a very serious issue that we have to put it into, we have got to wake up that we're about to lose our country. We're about to lose what our founding fathers did for us, what many people have died and shed their blood for. We're about to lose this. And it's because we just haven't done what we need to do. When I think about it, my father was a disabled veteran. two uncles. One spent 3 years at the POW camp. I've had others lost. I had a sister that went to Vietnam, spent a year in a MASH unit over there. They sacrificed. They made real sacrifices. My sister couldn't even talk about what she saw in that MASH unit until about 10 years ago. That's what they did for our freedom. And we are just letting it go because we won't do what needs to be done. I can say this, make people aware of it. When you go home tonight, okay, take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, were all those people who died for this country, who lost their limbs, or suffered the problems they came back here with PTSD, if I laid out what I've done for my country to try to defend liberty, would I be proud of it? Would they be proud of it? And that's a tough question. I said I wanted to make you real happy, but it's something we have to do, have to think about here. Not think about it, we have to do it. Because if it is to be, if you can't say it's up to me and believe it and go do something about it, then it ain't going to happen. So with that, thank you all. Let me take a question or two here.